All right. Hello, William. It's good to have you on the show. This is our first ever Telegram video chat. So I will be doing this weekly, bringing on a different guest from our team, and we will be asking some community questions to them. So let's get started. First, William, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us what you do for SolveCare and how long you've been with us and all that good stuff.
First, I want to say we did not coordinate our attire, did we? But my name is William Crawford. I'm the Strategic Partnership Manager at SolveCare. Been with SolveCare for a year and a half now, about 18 months. And it's been one heck of a ride. I mean, this is the intersection of exactly where I wanted to be. I have spent 20 plus years in medical, specifically a good portion, cardiac medical device sales and management and marketing. So daily for decades exposed to the problems that we have. And I always like to say that the true problem statement is that nobody would have designed the healthcare system that we have if they were doing it from scratch. We've kind of just mal-evolved to where we're at, and we're adapting. So SolveCare, I saw them and was attracted to the idea that they are reinventing it, and it should be reinvented. Nobody would invent this, what we have.
Definitely, absolutely. So before we jump into the questions, you posted a good comment in chat about the Polar medical device, the fitness band. You want to go into that? What was that all about?
I just saw it this morning. You know, it's what time is it? It's 11 a.m. Central Time in Florida. And I saw that post and it caught my eye. And more than anything, it's a post by the #1 podcaster in the world, Joe Rogan. Mm-hmm. And he wanted to put on access his Polar heart monitor as he exercised. And his app said, "You're locked out." And the explanation for the reason was, you have not consented to sharing your data. And which he explains, that's fine, but the app is useless if you don't give that consent. So it is essentially, if anyone reads the comments of that, and I posted it, I believe, I posted it in Telegram, right? I think.
Yeah.
Look at the comments. There's a real big controversy brewing there. And you can hear people saying there's solutions for this. Probably more than anything is the response from Polar was so weak that it's not even believable. It doesn't pass the sniff test. You know, them saying that we're doing it for your own good. Almost sounds like government talk.
Yeah, and it's things that strike home with us. You know, your data having to be shared with other countries. You know, on the SolveCare platform, you control your own data. And we also have geo-pinned nodes and geo-pinned transactions, which means that your data would never leave the US if you wanted it to. You know, so this response and this issue with them is something that we could handle very easily. And what their response, it didn't look like they wanted it to be this way, but most of their servers were in the EU and the EAA. And so their data naturally from their app went to the EU, and they had to tell people about that. So that was, you know, that strikes home with us. Not only do we work with medical devices, but we can help them with where their data is controlled and where their data is sent and all that good stuff. So yeah, that was a really good post. So I enjoyed that. And yeah, if you haven't had a chance,
I think it'll be interesting to watch, especially that comment section develop, because there are defenders of Polar, which they're not making very good points either. And it just highlights the fact that I saw another post somewhat. Ray Dalio, if anyone knows him, he said there's the boiling frog effect, because if you threw a frog into the water, he'd jump right out. But if you turn it up 1 degree at a time, you can make anybody accept almost any unbearable situation. And I think that's what we've evolved to. People defend that by saying, hey, it's how it's always been. If you want to play, you gotta sign up, and that's how it goes. But I don't think at SolveCare we believe that it doesn't have to be that way. There is a better way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly what you said. I was reading comments. The people defending them were like, "Well, everyone does it." It's like, no, they don't have to. It's
Isn't
perfect.
that sad?
Yeah. All right, let's jump into some questions because we have quite a few questions here. First of all, let's start off, and this question is from Ebenezer. So the question is, what makes a partnership a good fit for SolveCare?
That is a great question, Ebenezer. And the great fit is, if you look overall, what are we doing? We're creating an ecosystem of products, services, and assets that will be tokenized. And so to bring all that to bear, we have to create partners who have products, services, and assets for us to tokenize and to transact with on our network. Because our broader vision is to be a network of networks. Mm-hmm. And so these partners will be providing either technology, services, network services, or there's really no limit to what the networks possibly could do in the future. So we filter it essentially by what is the value they bring to any network that we may build on our platform, whether it's technology. To give you some examples, we have some really, truly interesting partners, like the Omron and LiveCore. Those are to talk about devices like we were just before. Those are partners who have bought in to the basic right that patients have rights over their data. Mm-hmm. So when they come to our platform, they'll be integrated immediately across all the networks that we build on our platform. And they will be able to allow the patient to take their data and share their data as they wish, not as the company wishes. So that's a perfect example of a tech partnership. We have other partnerships, like we just recently announced with Dira, the decentralized health record access. And that's a partnership in which they are helping us get access to large institutions, specifically research institutions. And what they're going to allow us to do when we build this network to their specifications, going to allow research facilities to recruit more participants in the studies. Because what we want is to be able to get the access to those patients' care that's outside of the research facility. Because a lot of times those participants are eliminated from a study because of care they're receiving elsewhere that the research facility is not aware of. So they get eliminated. So what the end result of that means is that the study has less people in it. That means it's less powered. And when a study is less powered, it has less significance. So if you can imagine a future where we're including more and more people in these studies because of something like the Dira network, the studies become more powerful and we can test more granular theories and theses when we do a study. And that just means more effective therapies, research, and results from the entire research community. I think it's incredibly empowering for the medical research field.
Yeah, definitely. I was reading today that about 10 million people worldwide partake in clinical trials every year. So it's a huge audience. It's a huge industry. It's tens of billions of dollars are spent on clinical trials. And to have that, initial first clients with a well-known, well-respected scientist is beautiful. And I think that partnership was all you, right, William?
Well, I met Yuri probably a year ago, and I approached him as his position as the digital health. Well, he had a title, digital health integration specialist for MIT, for the hospital system at MIT. And he was all about it. But he kind of, at the time, he kind of said, you know, these institutions are hard to get their focus on something like that, something new and all that. But then he reached back out to me maybe about 6 months later, or maybe I checked up with him and he said, you know what, I have an idea. And that's where the Dira concept was born at that point. But I don't want to stray too much from Ebenezer's question, but I do want to, if you could look at the bigger vision of what could happen, I mean, let's take it to its logical extreme. Imagine every person on earth anonymously, but in a verified way, providing their medical data to research facilities. 6 billion data points. Our studies can be so precise, so well targeted, that we would be able to test nearly any theory of what therapies, pharmaceuticals, anything in the medical field. It's so, I mean, the power of that would be indescribable. Then you combine that with AI and the processing capability. Then you combine that maybe even the near future with quantum computing. We will truly, truly have precision medicine at that point.
Yeah, revolutionize healthcare all on its own. Yeah,
and I mean precision by person. You're no longer saying, hey, this group of people have these propensities and these therapies tend to work for them. We'll get to a point where we can say, this is how it works for you. This therapy will work this way for your individual identity.
Wow. Amazing. So you're looking for potential partners, potential clients that can help build a network of networks, you know, not just a partnership that's going to build one network, but one that's going to lead to other networks. Is that correct?
Correct. And Dira is just the start for, you know, Dira.org. It's a nonprofit. It's just the start. We're going to do the Dira network. Then we have other ideas as well. And that's to be revealed at a later time.
Yeah, don't leak any information out. Not yet.
they're extremely excited, and so are we.
Yes. Okay, let's jump into the next question. This question is from, sorry, I have it zoomed in. This question is from BV, who's in the audience right now. What's your process for finding new potential partnerships?
I'll be honest. We get a lot of people reaching out to us. I mean, we've made a name in the data privacy community, in the healthcare community, in the blockchain community, in the device community, in the pharmaceutical community. So we do get a lot of people kind of kicking the tires and sniffing around at what we're doing, because, I mean, everybody knows if they hear Pradeep talk, that's how I found SolveCare. I came across a speech that Pradeep gave, and he's very accessible on LinkedIn. At least he was. I don't know about these days. And I said, this is fascinating. I'm in medical. I know blockchain's the future. This is an intersection. How can I participate? And that's where our relationship began. But I think, you know, the ideal candidate will be someone who not only has interest in us, but has true value to bear on the networks that we build. And I hope that answers your question, VV.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's keep going. This one is from Giuseppe. Do you have any targets or objectives that you aim to reach in a monthly or quarterly basis as far as partnerships or objectives?
As far as SolveCare, we aim to do 2 to 3 partnerships per month. That's an aim. It may average plus or minus on that. But, you know, we have lots and lots of opportunities, but we don't exercise all of them, because they're not all as valuable as we need them to be, and to have our energy and our focus to deserve on those opportunities.
Wow. That's a lot of partnerships. Considering you're not the only partnership person on the team, having 2 partnerships a month, that's a wonderful goal.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's keep going. This next one is from Chigozi. They ask, are you mainly focused in the US for partnerships, or are you looking worldwide? And have you considered any partnerships in Africa?
Good question. Good question. I am located in the US, but I have both myself and Ahmed, who is the other strategic partner manager, we have a worldwide coverage. So we do screen and take requests and meetings from anybody who offers the value that we look for in the network. So I've worked with companies in India, in Pakistan, in Africa, of course, a lot in Asia. So worldwide, there's really we don't have any preference. I'd say we probably would look more to Latin America in the future. There's not as much of, I don't know if there's an interest or an emphasis, but that's a place we look to expand to. But Africa is definitely on the radar as well. And it comes down, at the end of the day, it comes down to whether if there is a use case or a need or a product or a service or an asset that makes sense for our networks, then we want to be involved in that.
Wonderful. Yeah, I was looking up stats today. We were talking about eligibility and enrollment, and we were looking at the different numbers for public health care. We know in the US, there's 90 million people on Medicare or the CHIP program, which is childhood health care. And we looked at Brazil, and Brazil has 211 million people on public health care. So that kind of brings me into my next question. How has the Eligibility and Enrollment Suite helped you in marketing to new prospective clients, partnerships?
I'll be honest that I haven't been deeply involved in that project. That is another one, but it's something that we've needed, and it allows us to enable all of the advantages of blockchain and the privacy and the verification. Without it, we're kind of at the starting gate, right? So it's quite essential to what we do. But I also want to point out that this is kind of back to the screening question of what kind of partners. We also look to see if this will result in wallet downloads. And because as we know, when more wallets are downloaded, the more transactions we have, and the more transactions we have, the more Solve is used, and the more Solve is used, the better demand for it.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, this next question is also from Giuseppe, who I do see in the audience as well. Do you have any obstacles preventing you from closing any deals, such as pipeline or technology or platform limitations or anything like that?
Well, we always have to ration our resources to the best opportunities. And, it basically gets back to that screening. Is it of value to the network? Is it of value to the community? Is it of value to token usage, wallet downloads, all of that? So I wouldn't say, of course, we don't have a blank check, and we don't have an unlimited number of resources and staff, but we have enough to accomplish what we want to accomplish. So it's just a matter of focusing on the right opportunities and putting a full court press on those opportunities the way that we know how to do.
Yeah, and this is kind of an issue that is just short term, because in the long term, it's going to be a completely open platform where anyone can build networks, and we don't have to sit there and use resources for each of them. It's something that they can just do on their own. So that's pretty much for the time being. Yeah, we just have to focus our resources on the best opportunities. Yeah, good answer.
I've heard Pradeep say more than once that the ultimate vision will be that, right now we're very, very involved in creating the networks, and designing the networks, building the networks. But like you said, that's going to move more toward the customer. what we want and what Pradeep has said is that we envision very soon people much smarter than us out there creating value and building networks that do things we didn't even imagine. That's really where that's where the hockey stick growth is.
Yeah, it's so powerful. So powerful. All right, the next question is from Emmanuel. Have you ever terminated a partnership with a company or a potential partnership with a company or organization? And if so, what were the reasons and lessons behind it?
I wouldn't say that we've terminated them, but you know, I do know there have been at least one or two where it was obvious that they were not, we didn't get their buy-in to the privacy aspect. And so we passed. You know, we got very close and then we passed because we didn't want to take the short-term view of the short-term benefit. When we know all along that at the end, we want patients to have rights to their data versus the administrators of the network or companies that may be involved. So that's very important. That's probably our number one screen is that do they see the concept? Do they understand it? And do they have buy-in to it? And will they build networks that leverage that? The ability to keep data private and to benefit, not to resist building a system that's good just for them, but it's good for the participants in the network. So what that means networks that are good for the patients, not insurance companies. Networks that are good for physicians, healthcare workers, not just the insurance companies or the people that you know that at this point direct a lot of the evolution in healthcare and to where we're at now.
Yeah, everyone wants their data silos. They want to send their data to the EU. So
you know, and it's always not nefarious, but sometimes it's just status quo thinking, and we need to keep it in the silo. But yet, if we keep it in the silo, we got to build higher walls, and we build those higher walls, and it makes the data less accessible to everybody. And so it's not as functional as it could be. And so, although not always nefarious, sometimes it is. But you know, it's a status quo kind of thing that requires a revolution.
Do you think as we begin to revolutionize healthcare and get market share, do you think those companies will come about? They'll change their ways?
Have to. It'll. And that was one reason why I highlighted that post from Joe Rogan is that if that controversy gets big enough and it gets a big enough voice and they're put on blast loud enough, people will notice. Companies will notice. What does any capital-based company do? They look at the costs and the benefits of what their actions are, and they act accordingly. So if those kind of markets have certain kind of pressures toward a certain direction of more privacy protection, they'll have to respond. They'll simply have to, or they'll drop off the radar. They'll become less relevant.
Wow. So we need to get pretty on the Joe Rogan podcast.
I believe that's coming sooner than we think.
Yeah, I think so. The reason I got into crypto in the first place was because of data privacy. I just hated the idea that you had to subscribe and give all your data to other companies, and I saw blockchain was a good solution for that.
Yeah. And I think in general, it's kind of a libertarian probably orientation.
All right, let's jump into the next question. This question is from a community member named Mike, not myself. And it is, what advice would you give an aspiring partnership manager looking to excel in this field and drive successful collaborations?
I would say number one ingredient might be creativity. You have to be able to see the opportunities, see the possibilities, because you can easily get scope locked. I'm an aviator, so you can get your focus so narrow on something that you think is what should be happening. But if you widen it and think more broadly, more creatively, you can see partnerships. And I'll bring up something. Probably one of my favorite things to do is if I have someone approach me and I don't see an obvious partnership there, I'll just use something like ChatGPT, and my ChatGPT account knows SolveCare very well by now. I'll just say, how can we partner with this company? Here's their LinkedIn, here's their website, and amazingly, some of the ideas, and then you can just push it and say, well, be more creative. You come up with some really incredible ideas. Not all of them are actionable. You don't have the resources for all of them, or some of them might just be off the reservation. But that's how you get good ideas. You take it all the way out to the fringe, and then you look at what is possible, what we have the resources to accomplish, and at the end of the day, most important, what is the value that would deliver to the network and the ecosystem that we're building.
I know you love your ChatGPT and your AI. You were definitely one of the big movers on the team that got us into AI.
I heard a quote
the other day. I love it as well.
I heard a quote the other day that was so apt. It said, ChatGPT and AI is not going to replace people, going to replace people who don't use it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those technologies you need to learn. Otherwise, you're just going to be a thing of the past.
It's a fast-changing world, and I can tell you, I know that Pradeep is very connected with the possibility of AI, where we can benefit from it, and I can tell you, it's going to become a big part of SolveCare.
Mm-hmm.
As Definitely. Much as I'm imagining as much as blockchain technology itself.
In conversations with Pradeep, he constantly brings up different AI ways. We discuss different AI ways. We won't leak them to the community yet, but we have some pretty powerful things that we want to launch in AI that's not just like consumer or chatbots or things like that, but things on a deeper level that are definitely needed in AI. So exciting time.
And as you know, we have some people internally, on the development side, and our architect who made their name in AI. They're still connected to that. So we have the expertise and the interest and the resources to do that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. All right. Next question is from Toyo. It says, beyond the professional sphere, partnerships can create lasting friendships. Has there ever been a partnership that evolved into a true friendship here at SolveCare?
I would say that happens very frequently with me. I mean, I depend on a very close, special relationship with the people I work with. I can tell you, Dira, Yuri Ostrovsky, I consider him a friend. I've known him for a year now. There have been friends in the past that as we move forward with partnerships, you can only tend to get to know them on a personal level. Because you're dealing with challenges and obstacles, and it really is a team effort to bring that partnership to the finish line. And in doing that, you kind of grow together, and you understand the intricacies of that person's personality. So I find that one of the more fascinating parts, and I hope that doesn't change. I mean, I don't think, a lot of us do work remotely, and I don't think that's been a hindrance in that. I think we've been able to do that. You cannot fly to every meeting around the world that you have with a potential partner. So relationships to me are the core of the partnership, and because it requires trust. And so without a relationship, you don't have the trust. And without the trust, there may not be the value delivered.
Definitely. No, it's good to hear that. It's always good to make new friends, and you can always work better with someone that you get along with. And, I work with you pretty much every day on different calls, and I know you're very easy to get along with. So yeah, it's good to have that, good to know that people out there that.
Yeah,
What's
and
that?
I know some people, I always try to spend the first 3 to 4 minutes just socializing when people want to get the business. But I think that's an investment. It's an investment in the next 30 to 40, 60 minutes that you're going to spend with that person. When you're talking to customers, it's the same way. People have to be able to let down their guard, because when when you're thrown into a situation, it's not physically this way, but it might be emotionally or psychologically this way. Just want things to relax and people to be open and more candid. And then I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah, I agree. All right, this next question comes from Optimist. He says, partnerships often involve collaboration and integration. Can you share some insights into how Solve approaches the process of integration?
When it comes to integration, now me not being an extremely technical guy, my major was physics. I have an engineering, I'm much more of a conceptual guy than applying theory. But so my go-to person is Raj, our chief architect. So when it comes to integration, if I want to know if it's possible, he's my stop number one. I go to Raj, and Raj will say that's possible, or he'll say that's not possible, or very often that's possible, but, and then there will be some sort of obstacle, either a resource or a technology obstacle to it. But the process of integration is working closely with the partner to ensure that we understand each other's platforms, because a lot of them have platforms as well. So we have to get these platforms compatible. The easiest way is for them to build their own network on our platform. And then that solves all the integration problems, because it's built from day one, first principles, ground zero. It's built to be integratable, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's news to me. I thought Raj thought everything was possible. That man, he's a dreamer. He's a builder. Amazing.
I know Raj. He's a dreamer as well. He's a dreamer.
All right, let's jump into another question by Giuseppe. How many companies are you in talks with right now, and how many do you possibly foresee closing?
Well, I keep a spreadsheet that tells me who they are, who the contact person is, what the objective is, then what the last interaction was, what the next interaction is, and then a timeline and a target for that. My spreadsheet, it's kind of, you have to see it like a funnel. At the top of my funnel, I probably have 120 companies that I see as potential partners, either because they've reached out to me or I've screened them. One of my simplest screens is going to LinkedIn and looking for healthcare and digital transformation. Because the people who are talking about digital transformation, they're the early adopter. They're the ones who are already there. I don't have to take them mentally to a place that they're not at already. So that was how I would say that's the epitome of how it worked with Yuri and the Dira network. He was already there. His title was Digital Health Initiative for his research facility. So that's the top of my funnel. The companies that I may be talking to, that might be probably 20, 25. And then as we narrow the funnel down, we're getting MOUs. So that's a memorandum of understanding, down to maybe 7 or 8. And then from those 7 or 8, we're trying to make at least 2 of those per month for me, turn into an active partnership.
Wow.
So just think of it as a very large funnel. It comes down with a lot of work, produces something at the end. So there's a lot of screening. self-screening
Yeah.
and on their part as well. They screen us just as much.
So that actually sets us up for our next question from Emmanuel. What steps do you take to ensure both parties in a partnership have clear expectations and goals?
Well, I mean, that gets back to the relationship. If your contact person, or I like to call them the champion, if they're a champion of the idea of a partnership within their organization, they'll move us. They'll help us move to the right people, get in front of the right people, and they'll champion the idea, either because they believe in it, or sometimes it's good for them. That's their job. They want to accomplish things in their job. So we position it so that it helps not only them personally, but their company as well. So the win-win is it's a win for that strategic manager. It's a win for that company. It's a win for me, and it's a win for SolveCare.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if I answered that question thoroughly. Is there something more we might need?
No, I think you got it. This kind of follows along the same suit, but this question is from BV. This is how does the process look like from the first meeting to a potential partner to a signed agreement?
Well, the first meeting typically is always not all. I don't ever want to say all, but most likely we're going to be. It's kind of where it's kind of like dating. It's like, what do they have? And we're saying, here's what I got. What do you got? And you're rummaging around through what they got. They're rummaging around through your box of what you've got. And that comes in the form of either a pitch deck, or it might be just a conversation where you talk about your vision, what your core value proposition is, what theirs is, and to see if there's a match. And typically, we might come away from the end of the very first meeting with just some general idea, but we quickly follow up, probably within a week, circle back and say, okay, I've let the idea of what you have to offer percolate through my filters and ideas and discussions I've had with other people in the organization. And here are the ideas. Here's what we could do. And if they agree, that will probably pretty soon result in some sort of MOU for us to work from. And we always want to make sure that they're bringing value and that we're bringing value to them. Mm-hmm. That's at the end of the day, that's the only thing that's going to get it across the finish line.
Definitely. All right, so I think we have time for a couple more. Do you still have time?
Yep.
All right. So this one is from Chigozi, and they ask, who has been your proudest partner so far? And keep it to the ones we've announced. Keep it to the ones we've announced.
That's difficult. Because we got some good ones in the funnel. If you can see my funnel, I'm gonna let you see my funnel. If you can see my funnel.
Don't share the screen.
Let me see. Proudest. That's a very difficult question. It's a good question. Who was it that asked that?
Chigozi.
Good question, Chigozi. I'd have to say the most recent one with Dira, because of its potential. That vision that I kind of articulated about every person in the world providing data for research. I can just taste that, and that's the holy grail for precision medicine. So that science talks to you specifically versus generalizing in groups. So anything that I can do to make that happen, that's going to make me extremely proud of not just myself and my work, but SolveCare and SolveCare's participation in that happening. I mean, it could be, that vision could be starting right here and right now. So, the more I talk about it as well now, that's clearly the one I'm most proud of.
Definitely. Yeah, those ones where Dira just matched so perfectly. It was like an underhand pitch. It was just exactly what we wanted. Network of networks. They're looking for digital health records. They're doing clinical trials. Just everything matched so well with what we were doing. Not just in general, but actively working on at that moment. It's such a great partnership. I am looking forward to seeing.
Without revealing it, we're working on a network that will put Dira potentially on steroids.
Wow.
It will be. I don't know if I would say it's the foundation for it, but it'll be an engine behind it that can really make it go.
It's going to be good.
For that end vision I talked about.
Yeah. Okay, this question comes from Unique. How do you stay updated on industry trends and emerging opportunities to identify new potential partnership avenues for SolveCare?
It's funny. LinkedIn used to play a lot greater role in where I found things, but it's very, very business oriented. So you also have to get into healthcare and science. And there's a lot of good social media accounts that cover just that, whether it's blockchain, if it's healthcare, if it's medicine research. And the funny thing is, how social media is. Once it knows what you're looking for, it just starts serving it up. And it's gotten to the point that my social media just kind of serves up these companies. Here's what we're doing along the lines of all the things that I've looked at. And the more I look at those companies, because I'll jump right to LinkedIn and start following that company, look at the key players in that company, look for the strategy people in that company, and I'll start connecting with them. I'll start discussions with them. And so it's interesting, until Unique asked me that question, I probably didn't realize how important social media has become in essentially serving up to me innovative companies in the healthcare space that are a good fit for us.
I thought you were going to answer ChatGPT, honestly.
Well, ChatGPT is a tool. And as we know, the tool is only as good as you are a tool user. And it'll lie to you right to your face, confidently lie to you. So you have to be really careful. So it's one of those things that it's like a high horsepower car that has very loose controls. It's a very loose steering wheel. You got to be careful. You find yourself off the road.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I suffer from that sometimes. Okay, this next question is from Ben. He asks, can you elaborate on the specific roles and responsibilities of each party within the scope of collaborations? So where does the different responsibilities lie when it comes to collaborating with new partners?
Well, of course, that's going to be unique per each partnership. And it all depends on what they're bringing to the table. I mean, we know what we bring to the table. We bring to them a platform in which they can either do business more efficiently, they can give better access to their data or their services, more efficient access. Then the middle prong of what we do is that we can help them manage it better. It can be done in real time. It can be done in an immutable way, in a transparent way. Highly valuable to a lot of companies who have a scope on them, and they've got to be squeaky clean. And then lastly, our third prong is that, if they're doing business in a network context with us, they are able to transact and exchange value and payments through the system so much quicker than email or invoices or faxing. how more old school could that possibly be? I mean, the day when all of our transactions are done, not just in a real time way, but in a private real time way, that you're not exposing everything. You know, it's verifiable, of course, but it's still anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. That's the core of what we bring to the table for them. But on their side, it's about what they specifically bring. If it's a product, if it's a service, or if it's an asset that can be tokenized and transacted on the network, then we're interested. That's their responsibility. We enable and help them build something that gives them 10x capability doing what they're already doing.
Absolutely. Wonderful. So this question comes from Emmanuel. How do you communicate the benefits and value of partnerships with SolveCare? I think you kind of covered this one a little bit right now.
Yeah, I mean, just like shareholders, you have to bring value. At the end of the day, it's value. So if a partnership brings value, and this is my pitch here, any of you guys in the community, anybody that's listening, if you have an idea for a partner for us, send it my way. Catch me on LinkedIn, in the SolveCare chats on Telegram, on Discord, any of our communication channels. If you especially if you have a deep understanding of what our platform is about and what it can do, and you see a good fit, bring it to my attention. You know, I may have 120 companies I'm looking at, but hey, 240 wouldn't be bad either. That just makes the output at the bottom better quality, because it's all about quality as well. It's not just quantity.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, we've actually run through all of the questions we had today. William, any closing thoughts? Anything you want to say to the community?
Well, I want to thank you for your time. I value your time and your willingness to come and talk with us. And I am serious. Anybody that wants to discuss anything with me, to the ability that I'm able to, and that it's appropriate for me to do, I will. So yeah, reach out to me, forward any ideas for partnerships. And, you know, I don't mind having a friendship or relationship with anybody in the community that we can partner together on a personal level as well. Networking will always be probably the most productive and quickest moving method for moving partnerships and business forward. It's all about relationships.
Yeah, definitely.
And okay, partnership is just a business relationship.
Yeah. Okay, before we go, just want to remind everyone that William did post in the Telegram chat the link to the Joe Rogan Podcast Instagram for that polar post. If you guys want to make a comment on there and say, hey, if you need data the real way, the best way, come check out SolveCare. And we'll get Will on the Joe Rogan podcast, and and yeah. So
you know, my dream would be to have Pradeep on there. You know, if that's possible. At a minimum, push for that to be an entire topic of a show. Data privacy, you know, it's obviously a hot point for him right now. So data privacy can really, you know, rise to the top of the consciousness of the U.S. and the world. It's the #1 podcast. He's concerned about it right now. So why don't we talk about it? Let's get this rolling. So express your opinion, suggest some solutions, and let's see what we can do with that.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for being here, William. We will be doing one of these next week. I will be running a poll and let you guys decide who's going to do it next week. These aren't at the same time or day. It's up to the guests, as that's the easiest way to get them on the show. But I want to thank you all for being here. I hope your questions were answered. And yeah, thank you, William. It's good to have you on the show.
Thanks, Mike. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Of course, you too. All right, thanks everyone. Bye now.
See you guys. Bye-bye.